Okay, so this is a bulk loader, and some important things to know about the bulk loader are that this is called the gate. The gate opens and closes. The most important thing to know and realize about the gate is that it must be closed anytime this door is open. Failure to leave this closed when you open this will expose this film. This film costs about 50 bucks a roll, and if you have this in an open position, at the same time that's in an open position, light will pour in through there and expose all of that film, and that would not be a good thing. So you pick this up, the first thing you check is that it's closed. Once it's closed, you can go ahead and open the door, or set it in front of you, oriented like that. Go ahead and pull the film down to this chamber area, and perhaps I should also go over some of what this is. This is the chamber here. This is where your cassette will go. This is the crank handle. These are sprockets that will your film will line up with, and it makes a clicking sound you'll hear later when you load the film to let you know how many frames that you're loading into your cassette. So I'm going to take a piece of tape about 3 inches long or so, and if I can find the end of it, here we go. 3.5 inches long. Better a little too long than too short for this, because you can always trim some off, but you can't add any back on. Secure this centered to the end of the film about 5 or 6 holes back, and you want it lined up pretty centered and square so it's not crooked. Once that's on there, go ahead and take a film cassette. That's what this is here, and a little quick tour of the cassette. There's a flat side and a lip side here, and there's a long end to the spindle. When you load this correctly and you go to put it in your camera, the spindle should be pointing down and the flat side should be facing you. And that's the way it needs to be put together when it's in here. I'm going to take an end cap off of this cassette, take out the spindle, and I'm going to orient the spindle, the long end of the spindle, facing away from the handle here. It needs to face away from it. So I'm going to take the tape and put the spindle right at the very end edge of that film, wrap it around, get up under the spindle a little bit, and then secure it to the other side of the film about 5 or 6 holes down, and cut or tear off any excess. Go ahead and squeeze it, flatten it, make sure that's really secure, because if this tape were to come off in the camera, it would cause a problem with rewinding, and it's best to avoid problems. So I'm going to take this cassette and put it back on here. Now when I do this, again, the flat side needs to be facing you. What happens sometimes is, it doesn't matter which side you take the end cap off, but sometimes students will go, oh, I can't get through there, let me do it this way, and they'll just flip it over and slide this on with that lip side facing up. If you do that and put it in the chamber, it will still load. However, the emulsion will be on the wrong side when it's in your camera, and your pictures won't be recorded. So flat side up, slide this on, and I'm going to take the end cap, and if you look here, you'll see that this opening where the film slides in, you can kind of squeeze that a little bit to close it more, and I can put the end cap on one side, squeeze that a little bit, and just kind of push and turn at the same time. And sometimes it's a little bit of a pain, but to verify that it's on, I push in and twist, and I'll do the other side too just to be sure, because if that pops off, you will expose your film, at least on the sides, and probably more than that, and you want to avoid exposing your film. These open up to allow me to put this cassette into the chamber. So I want to put the cassette in the chamber, and let me show you. This part here is kind of like a screwdriver, and it needs to get inside here lined up to the hole in there in order to be able to crank it. So push this down, push this in, and you want to turn it until you see that it's grabbed a hold of it. Once you know it's got a hold of it, check and make sure that the holes are on these sprockets and that this is down. Then you can go ahead and close this. Once this is closed, it's now safe to go ahead and open the gate. So I'm going to open the gate. I like to put my thumb up here just to double check that this stays closed. Put my finger here to resist this on this side. And while pushing in towards the here, I'm going to go ahead and crank it, and I'm going to listen for 16 clicks. And once I've got 16 clicks, this is going to unwind. That's normal, that's natural, that's fine. And then before I can open this, though, it's really important that I must turn that back to close. Turn it back all the way until it clicks. Then I can safely open the door. Now, you heard the clicking there when I was doing this. If you don't hear it clicking, that doesn't mean it's not loading. That just means it got off of this track here, because this track is what causes that clicking sound. So if you don't hear it clicking, just do about 14 or 15 revolutions. One full revolution does not equal one exposure. So it's 16 clicks or about 14 or 15 revolutions if you don't hear the click. To take this out, I'm going to cut this just above this little gray sprocket thing here so it can rest on that. And now I need to cut my lead, the boot shape inside the film. So when I cut my lead, I am going to pull out a little bit more, and I'm going to cut up, curve in, go back, and curve out. So that's pretty close to pretty good there. Could have been a little more curve there, but so again, once you're finished and this is loaded correctly, the shinier side of the film is facing you, the long end of the spindle is pointing down, and the flat end of the cassette is facing you, and that's a correctly loaded roll of film.